if you continue to do this, even for the good of your marriage, right? You're like, oh, you know what? We're not gonna have that conversation because I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to get there. You'll begin to feel like you're faking it. And we're going to have a very real marriage. And real marriages have real hard conversations. Yeah. Real marriages work real hard. And so, yeah, it can be, as you avoid it, it can begin to feel like, is this real? Do we really love each other? Do we even really have meaningful conversations? And you can begin to feel like you're faking it. And that's not where we want couples to be. That's not where we want to be. We want to have real conversations and have a real marriage and a great marriage. And that takes real hard work.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Greater Marriage Podcast. And babe, happy anniversary.
Happy 1 year anniversary.
This is our 1 year episode. This is our 1 year anniversary of Greater Marriage. So thank you to everyone who has tuned in over the last year. 52 weeks. This is episode 52. And we're very excited about it. I just want to take a second to appreciate you, our audience, anyone that is listening, anyone that has listened, those who have chimed in, who have been a part of the conversation, who have asked questions, who have followed us on social media or jumped on the website, shot us an email. We are so appreciative of you. We pray for you. We love you guys. We love that we get to do this. This is something God has put in our heart, or he put in our heart years ago. And to see it come to life and to see us remain faithful for a year. Most podcasts end after the first couple of months. And then we're just so honored and appreciative that you would tune in, that you would listen. And then we get to do this. This is so fun for us. And so thank you so much for being a part of the Greater Marriage Podcast.
Yeah. And if you didn't know, the Greater Marriage Podcast was kind of birthed out of, like you said, a desire to help marriages become stronger, but really even out of a young marrieds group that we host in our home every month with couples who we love, who we pour into, because it was something that we felt we were lacking in the early years of our marriage. And so our hope has always been with this podcast to just infuse confidence and courage into your marriage so that you would be able to walk into marriage confidently, knowing that there are small changes that you can make that will make a big impact on your marriage. And that if your marriage isn't great today, it can be greater tomorrow and greater the next day and the next day. And a year from now, it could look nothing like it looks like right now. So like Dustyn said, thanks for joining in with us. We have grown. We have learned a ton. Our marriage has benefited and become greater because of this podcast. And this is just one avenue that the Lord has asked us to be diligent in, among many others, in this realm of marriage ministry. So yeah, it's an honor to be here.
I want to tell a story real quick that I don't know if we've ever told the story of how we launched the podcast. Have we ever told that on the podcast?
Probably not.
I don't think so. So again, this is something that we've had in our hearts for years. Not necessarily a podcast, but just Greater Marriage as a ministry. A ministry, God put a word in our hearts. We were on a date night years and years ago at a Barnes & Noble dreaming about marriage ministry. We wrote down, we want to create a marriage ministry for single people who are hopeful, married people who are hopeless, and everything in between. So this is for the single, the dating, the engaged, the married, the almost divorced, the divorcee who's hopeful again, like all of those things. We want to be able to create a ministry that will speak to all of those things. And so we had this written down. I had lunch with a buddy of mine who works in kind of church marketing. Had lunch with him, told him this dream that was on my heart. And he always was challenging me, like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to launch it? When are you going to start this marriage thing?
And we're like, we don't know where we start.
Sure, what do we do? What does it look like? And so it was just a dream that was constantly in our hearts. We talked about it all the time, every date night, it just was always like oozing out of us every time we spoke. And one day I was working from home and we are sitting down talking about marriage ministry, sitting next to each other, talking about marriage ministry, and that guy, his name's Chris Abbott, texted us in a group conversation and said, hey, congratulations. Today is the day you start a marriage podcast. What God has put in you is too good to stay in you. Others need what you have, which is a humbling thing to hear because you never feel like you're enough, right? You never feel like the imposter syndrome where you never feel like what you have is good enough for other people and what you have isn't good enough or as good as something else you've heard or whatever. And he said, what's in you is too good to stay in you. People need what you have. Your first episode launches on Tuesday. Mind you, this is like Thursday. We're going out of town the next day.
The next day.
Literally the next day. So your first episode launches on Tuesday. You're going to post every single week. You're going to be faithful. God is going to breathe on it. If you need anything, I'm here for you. We both started crying, right? And I literally shut my laptop. My boss is listening. I did get my work done for the day, but shut my laptop. We drove to Best Buy. We bought these mics. We bought these stands. We set this up in our home office and we recorded the podcast like an hour later. We later deleted that podcast because we hated it, and we recorded another one when we got back from St. Louis.
About that.
We deleted it. We got back from St. Louis. We recorded another one, and we haven't stopped.
Yes.
It's been so God fun. Is good. Yeah. Thank you for being on this journey with us, man. We love you and appreciate you. That is not at all what this podcast is about. This episode is not about our 1 year anniversary. It's not about how we got started, but I just want to share that with you as faithful listeners. And I hope that encourages you to step out and to do something that God has put on your heart. Because this was a dream for many years. And then here it is. We're a year in now, and we've done this 52 times. And I can't wait to do 1,000 more. I can't wait to see what God birthed out of this. But today,
one thing that we do talk about that is foundational in marriage is communication.
Yes, 100%.
So today we are talking about communication killers, because many times we are, guilty of doing these things and maybe not even realizing how much they are killing our marriage. And so today we have 7 quick communication killers that we're going to share with you, and then things that you can do instead of those killers to breathe life into your marriage.
Yeah, we always want to breathe. Proverbs 12, I love you. You added this to our notes. Proverbs 12:18 says that the tongue of the wise brings healing. Mm-hmm. Our tongue, our words should bring healing. We talked before about death and life, or life and death are in the power of the tongue, right? Proverbs 18. So we want to always bring healing and life with our words. And I think it's very easy for us to, with our words, with our actions, with our posture, with our attitude, to kill communication before it ever starts. Kill the conversation before it ever really gets an opportunity to get to a place of healing, to get to a place of love, to get to a place of having a good, life-giving conversation. We allow our posture or the way we approach the conversation or whatever, our thoughts, to kill it before it ever even has the opportunity to give life.
Yeah. So as we go through these, think of these in context of your marriage, but also in context of your relationships, whether that's with coworkers, with extended family members, with your kids.
Yeah.
Are you killing communication with everyone around you simply by the way you're communicating, the way you're presenting yourself? We're going to get into all those. So first, communication killer, assuming instead of asking.
This is so good. We talk all the time about intentions. We need to assume the best about one another. And I think that whenever we assume that our spouse thinks a certain way or is a certain way or is going to respond to something in a certain way, instead of just bringing it to them, instead of just asking the hard questions, instead of just having the hard conversation, it kills it. Because if I assume that you're going to freak out if I bring something up, or if I assume that it's going to become this big fight and I just harbor resentment, I let it sit on the inside of me, right? Then it's like I never have that conversation. Then maybe I make it something that it's not. I make it a bigger deal than it should be. And if we just assume all the time instead of just having the conversation, instead of just asking the question, it can kill that conversation, because we either aren't going to have it, or we're gonna make it something that it isn't, and then we come into that conversation hot or angry about something that never even happened.
We create a conflict where there wasn't even a conflict,
exactly.
Or there didn't need to be a conflict.
Yes, I made a decision early on in our marriage to not have conversations with you in my head. Right?
Would you say that's easy to do?
It's a fight every single day. It's a daily discipline to not have conversations in my head, right? We all do that, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, I wish I would have said, and if I would have said that, she would have said this, I would have nailed her with this one. Like, we think of how we're going to win that conversation next time.
I would love to hear the you in your head.
The internal dialogue.
Because
he's very sarcastic.
The you that comes out is not any of those things.
Oh,
I just imagine like the you in your head is just this like Italian mafia guy. Like,
just like arrogant, like, oh man. Well, I try to be very humble, try to be very gracious in conversation.
wow, what a man of God.
What a man of God. But no, if I'm having all these conversations in my head and I'm assuming what you're going to say and how you're going to react, then I'm killing that conversation before it ever starts. Yeah. Like, we need to ask the hard question, come in with an open heart, and have an open dialogue about whatever it is that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, that's good. Communication killer number 2. Tone that doesn't match the words.
Would you say I'm better at this, or that you are? Would you say I practice this conversation killer more, or you practice this conversation killer?
Lots of practice over here. I'm just trying to perfect this thing.
Trying to perfect that tone. This would be something like, "Hey, babe, how are you?" Fine. Tone. That does not sound like a fine tone. I'm good. No, I'm great. I'm fine. That does not sound like a I'm good, I'm great, I'm fine tone. And, maybe that was going to kill that conversation, or that may start a very heated conversation that didn't even need to happen, right?
How many times have you told me it's not what you say, it's how you say it?
No doubt.
I can be saying all the right things, but if my tone is saying something opposite of that, my tone's going to trump it every time.
Yeah, and this doesn't just go for angry tone. This, and I think we'll get to this one, but this could be a sarcastic tone too, right?
Yeah, don't jump ahead. That is one of my communication.
Okay, well, yeah, no, Heather's going to really hone in on this one. That's number 8, 9, and 10, I think. So here we go.
Okay, communication killer number 3, listening with an agenda.
Ooh, this is good.
Listening with an agenda. Yes. So this is when you are trying to share your heart about a certain situation, and your spouse is so caught up in their own head thinking about their point that they're going to prove that they're not even hearing what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where you're thinking of a response before you actually hear what comes out of their mouth, right? Like, I'm not listening with the intent of hearing you, digesting what you're saying, and then responding to what you said. I'm listening with, how can I turn these words against her? How can I prove her wrong? How can I show her that what she's saying isn't right? How can I show her that she's seeing this the wrong way? Like, I want to, if maybe you're seeing something the wrong way, and I hear that, I want to be able to say, okay, hey, here's what you said, but here's what I meant. And let's find common ground. Because instead of like, no, that's not what I said. No, that's not what I meant, right? Instead of just cutting you down and coming after what you said, say, okay, hey, I hear you. And what I heard you say was active listening, right? So what I heard you say was this. I apologize, because that was not my heart at all, right? Like you may say, I shouldn't have to apologize for something I didn't do. Well, maybe you do need to lead with that. Like, hey, I'm sorry that you heard it that way, because that was not what I meant. Instead of getting mad for the way your spouse interpreted what you said or what you did, right? We can get mad at the way you interpreted something. And it's like, that's nothing to get mad about. That's just a miscommunication.
Well, and then there's another layer of mad.
Exactly.
Then you're mad about the issue, and then you're mad about the interpretation, the correct interpretation of the issue.
Right. I'm not even mad about what happened. I'm mad about the way you responded to what happened, right? And so it's like, let's not let that get layers deep. Let's say, hey, I mean, I acknowledge the fact that you saw it that way, and I acknowledge the fact, but that was wrong. The way you saw it isn't the way that I meant it, and I apologize if I said it that way, or if that's the way you took it, but that wasn't my heart behind it. Let me explain my heart behind it so that you're not assuming, right? Let me explain this in a kind tone so that like my tone matches the words I'm saying. I want you to hear me in the fact that that's not how I meant that. And I'm not going to listen to you just to prove you wrong. I'm going to listen to you so that I can digest the way you heard, the way you see it, the way you saw it, so that I can now explain my point of view.
Yeah, that's good. Communication killer number 4, avoiding hard conversations.
Yeah, I think this is something you and I do differently. I think that you need a moment, and so you'll avoid it in the beginning to come back to it later, right? When cooler heads have prevailed.
Because I'm working on my tone.
Working on your trying to you want to say something that you're going to regret, right? I will avoid it altogether. It's like, I'll reason in my head and be like, you know what? I'm good. It's not worth bringing up. It's not worth going there. I don't want to I don't want to bring up controversy. I'm not going to, it's like, again, like I'll assume it's going to turn into something that it's not. And I'll assume that it's just not worth having. And so I'll just avoid the conversation altogether. Avoid conflict. I just want peace. I'm not going to go there. It's not a big deal, whatever. And then I'll begin to build resentment because we haven't talked about it.
Right.
And so then when we do talk about it, it's like, well, actually, I've thought this and this and this, and then I start bringing up the past. And it's like, that's not healthy either. We need to have the hard conversations. Maybe we need to give one another a minute before we have those hard conversations, but we need to come back to them.
Well, avoidance feels more comfortable in the moment, but it always costs more in the long run.
Oh, that's really good.
When we avoid it, we don't have the conversation when we need to. And so one way that we handle this is by carving out that time for that intentional conversation. And for a season, we did that every night. For a season, we did it every week. And now we've gotten better at it, and it has kind of become just part of our daily conversation. As things come up, we address it. But there was a season that we had to really focus on that. And so we created a set time every single night or every single week that we sat down, and it was like, okay, any sore spots? We called it sore spots. And that was a chance to just kind of lay things out on the table that maybe hit us the wrong way, or something that, you know, the other one did or whatever. And even approaching that conversation like, hey, do you have any sore spots? Like, did I do anything this week that maybe hit you the wrong way? Because we weren't good at having fluid conversation around conflict. This forced every single week, forced us to have hard conversations. And now I think we can easily have those conversations, deal with what needs to be dealt with, and move on. But had we not made that habit, we wouldn't be in the place that we're in now. So I would encourage you to carve out that space and make hard conversations part of the habit of your marriage.
Yeah, we've said before, the enemy loves to speak through silence, right? Resentment grows in silence. And whenever we avoid each other, it just causes the distance to grow.
Yeah.
And so the distance between us grows in avoidance, and the resentment between us grows in silence. So when we just separate ourselves from each other and we're silent, we allow that internal dialogue to take over. We're not really having conversations. We're not assuming the best about each other. We're avoiding it. And then it's like, you feel, if you continue to do this, even for the good of your marriage, right? You're like, oh, you know what? We're not gonna have that conversation because I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to get there. You'll begin to feel like you're faking it. And we're going to have a very real marriage. And real marriages have real hard conversations. Yeah. Real marriages work real hard. And so, yeah, it can be, as you avoid it, it can begin to feel like, is this real? Do we really love each other? Do we even really have meaningful conversations? And you can begin to feel like you're faking it. And that's not where we want couples to be. That's not where we want to be. We want to have real conversations and have a real marriage and a great marriage. And that takes real hard work.
Yeah. All right. Communication killer number 5, bringing up the past.
Yeah. I just talked about this. This happens one of two ways, right? Either you avoid it so much that it has to, like, then you pull it back out of the closet whenever you're ready to talk about it. Because maybe you feel like you're losing an argument. And you're like, well, guess what? I haven't mentioned this one yet, right? And it's like, let me pull this weapon out. And that can hurt. Or maybe there's pain in your marriage, pain in your past that hasn't been fully dealt with. And so it continues to come up, right? And we need to deal with those things. You need to, go ahead.
Well, it's unfair to our spouse to continuously bring up things from the past, because then it puts our spouse in a place of feeling like improvement is never possible.
Yeah.
Or it makes our spouse feel like something that they messed up in an area that they were lacking in the past, like, is always going to be held over their head. You know, like, I mean, the word talks about, like, the Lord casting our sin as far as the east is from the west. And, you know, as kids, we're painted this picture of, you know, we're washed white as snow and it's as if it never happened. But we aren't willing to extend that same kind of forgiveness to our spouse. Yeah. That is the forgiveness that we should seek to extend in marriage. That east is from the west, the slate is wiped clean. I'm not saying never deal with the issue. If there's an issue that needs to be dealt with, you deal with it head on. You find the root issue, you dig up those roots. But as you do that, as you begin to heal, then it's like, hey, we're not going to talk about this anymore. Yeah. This happened. We dealt with it. We got to the root issue. We're going to leave it in the past and we're going to move forward.
One of my favorite passages on marriage, I've brought this up several times, Hosea 2. He says, I'll remove the names of the other gods from your lips and will never speak of them again. This is God speaking to an unfaithful bride. a bride that's been unfaithful to him to other gods. And I mean, he is speaking of the infidelity of his wife. He's speaking of the men of her past, the gods of her past. And he says, listen, I'm going to make you forget that ever happened. Even though you were the perpetrator, I'm going to make you forget that ever happened. And we're never going to bring it up again. I'm not going to hold it against you. You're not going to hold it against yourself. You're not going to think about them or speak about them as if it would have been better if you stayed with them, as if it would have been better if you worshiped those other gods, if you stayed in slavery, if you stayed addicted to whatever. We are not going to bring it up. You're not going to want to go back there. You're not going to blame yourself for ever having been there, and I'm not going to hold it against you. I love that vision really of not bringing up the past.
Yeah. All right. Your favorite communication killer number 6, sarcasm, mocking, or eye rolling. So this one is all about your body language.
Yeah. Yeah. Sarcasm can feel clever and funny, but I think it often shows insecurity. I think it often shows an inability to really deal with the issue. It can show immaturity. And I speak all of those things about myself, right? Like I know when I'm being sarcastic, it's from a place of I have nothing else to say, or I don't really want to deal with this. Or like you'll say all the time, like, hey, you're joking about that. Is that because it's bothering you? Like, because you tend to joke about things that bug you. You know what I mean? And it's like, some of it is a coping mechanism. Some of it is a way that you deal with pain by joking about it. Some of it really is just your personality and you're being lighthearted and you're trying to make light of it. I'll do that after we kind of get past the subject to kind of prove to us that, hey, we're past it. We're good. It's like, we can joke about it now. Haha, right? Sometimes you're like, nah, too soon.
Not yet.
Sometimes it can come from a good place.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when you really look at it, especially in an argument, it's a tactic to try to get one over on your spouse. It's a tactic to try to win a conversation, to try to dig at a little bit, maybe your spouse, because you know they don't appreciate that kind of argument and their argumentative style. And I think that it can show some insecurity in the way that you communicate.
So if we have a listener who's resonating with that, like, yeah, I do use sarcasm, I do mock or eye roll or whatever it is. And maybe they're just realizing for the first time that this is a communication killer that they use. What would you say to them to encourage them? Like, how can they lay that down and move past that? Because you have done such a great job of laying that down. So what would you say to those people?
Give yourself patience, right? Like, you've had to be really patient with me. I've had to learn this through trial and error. This is not something that happened quickly. I didn't just wake up and decide like, oh, you know what? Sarcasm bugs her. I'm going to knock that off. Like it's, I still am sarcastic. You guys know me. Like you guys hear us, right? Like I'm still sarcastic. I still like to be lighthearted and make jokes and be the funny guy. Like it's fun for me. Like I want to have fun in conversation and I still like am sarcastic with the guys I'm close to and we still pick on each other, like all of that. But I think that the way that you begin to chip away at that is to like have conversations after the conversation. Ask your spouse, hey, how could I have said that better? Hey, how could I have done that better? Ask your spouse how they want to be communicated to. That matters, right? Mm-hmm. It matters that I communicate in a way that Heather needs to be communicated to. Like I can't just be like, well, that's just the way I talk. That's just the way I communicate. You're my wife. I love you dearly. I want to communicate in a way that you want to be communicated to. Mm-hmm. I want to communicate in a way that you're going to hear it and appreciate it. And so we've had conversations after the conversation where it's like, hey, I didn't handle that well. How would you want me to say that? How can I communicate that better? I know I got sarcastic, but that was just me trying to be funny and like break up the hard conversation. I wasn't trying to be rude or mock you or embarrass you. Like, how could I have done that better? And we've had this conversation where you have just said, hey, I just don't need sarcasm at all. Like, mm-hmm. I don't want to laugh in that situation. I don't want to laugh about it yet. I don't want you to break the intensity of the conversation. I want to have the conversation mm-hmm. and we can laugh about it later. That's not the time or the place to be sarcastic. And it's like, oh, okay, there is a time and a place for it. Maybe we can joke about it later. But right now is not that time. Mm-hmm. In a heated conversation isn't that time. I would never mean for it to belittle you or embarrass you. And so how can I just shift I don't need to change my entire personality or change the way I communicate entirely, But if I can change the way that we have hard conversations or change the way that I communicate to you or with you or about certain things, that's where you begin to hone in your communication style with your spouse, and you can really improve the way you communicate with them. You don't have to stop being sarcastic entirely or altogether. You don't have to stop being the funny one or whatever, being lighthearted about a situation. Just do it at the right time.
What's interesting about that is, I think a lot of times what tends to bug us the most, even as we're like looking through these, there's obviously certain things that we resonate with more. And like this one being like the sarcasm, the joking, all that is one of the things that initially drew me to you. Like the fact that you like made me laugh.
Say that
again.
It was golly. Sarcasm.
No, not sarcasm.
Go ahead.
Humor.
Be specific here, babe. Go ahead.
And so it's funny, but it's not funny how unclever the enemy is. It's like, okay, hang on. The thing that drew her to him was his humor, the way he made her laugh, all of that. How can I use that and flip it on its head and make it something that actually pushes her away from him?
It's really good. Yeah.
And if we can see it through that lens, like, hang on, this is actually a gift. Like, this is what I love about you. The enemy is just channeling it in the opposite direction that it needs to be channeled. And I think that allows us as the spouse to show more grace. And once we have that realization for ourselves, like, okay, what is the thing that I do in communication that, trips up my spouse? Okay, is the root of that something that they actually found attractive to me in the beginning? How do I flip that back on its head and make myself, present myself even in communication as the person that they initially fell in love with?
Yeah, that's really good, babe.
I want to add one real quick.
Hold on, I still have one more.
You do have one more. Okay, let's do this one more.
Wait, do you need to do a 6.5 before we get to number 7?
6.5. Let's go 6.5. I think a conversation killer, and maybe this was on the list sort of, but is not acknowledging the truth. I think that we need to acknowledge, one of the way we got to sore spots was we had a conversation where we acknowledged that there were things we didn't like to talk about. We just sat down one night and said, hey, I think sore spots was the Holy Spirit. I just said, hey, there are sore spots that in our marriage that we avoid. And because every time we talk about it, it's like putting salt in an open wound. How do we heal those spots to where we can actually have a conversation about them? I think every marriage has something that it's like, ooh, don't go there. Mm-hmm. Like, it may not be a big deal, but it's a deal. Mm-hmm. And so I think that maybe one of the ways you begin to have meaningful conversations with your spouse is just to acknowledge, like, when you get in bed tonight, just say, hey, we don't communicate super well, and I want to improve that. Like, I'm not being critical of our marriage. I'm just acknowledging, without criticism, acknowledging what we're not great at. And acknowledging that, man, we kill conversations before they start. We kill them in the middle of them because we're sarcastic and rude and belittling, and we embarrass one another, and we just want to win. And it's like, they don't get anywhere. I don't want to do that anymore. And it's not that, it's like, I want to be with you. I'm in this for life. This is covenant. How do we fix this? And maybe you get to some of these conversations, having hard conversations and acknowledging some of these things by that initial conversation of saying, hey, let's acknowledge the fact that we're not great at this. Mm-hmm. The only reason you and I communicate decently well now is because we acknowledged that we were terrible at it before. Mm-hmm. We haven't just always communicated well, and we still don't always communicate well.
Right.
But the only reason we made any progress at all was acknowledging, hey, we suck at this. Hey, we avoid this. Hey, we don't do this well. How do we make that better? Mm-hmm. There's a million things we do well, and I love that about us. And I'm not trying to hone in on the bad thing, but I am in the sense that I want it to be fixed. I want it to be just as healthy as these other areas. So how do we speak life over? How do we acknowledge it? How do we make that better?
Yeah, that's really good. All right, last one, communication killer number 7, only talking business.
Yeah, I think this isn't necessarily one of those that like, oh, that's going to kill a conversation, but it does kill healthy communication. When everything you talk about is, hey, what time soccer practice? Hey, what do the kids need to be? Hey, did you make lunches? All right. Hey, what do we have going on tomorrow? All right, we got dinner with friends. Okay, well, hey, when we go to dinner, I'm going to talk to my boys. You talk with your girls. We'll get in the car. We'll be quiet on the way home. Like it's like you just do the business things, right? And you look up and you're like, and we have had fun with each other in a long time. We haven't dreamed together in a long time. We haven't had a meaningful, loving, like just fun conversation. We may laugh about the kids or laugh about something that happened at work or laugh about something with our friends. But it's like, are we connecting on a deep level? Are we having meaningful conversations? Are we dreaming about the future?
Yeah.
Hey, what kind of, vacation could we take without the kids one day? Hey, what kind of vacation can we take with the kids one day? Hey, what do we want our kids to be? What do we want to instill in our kids? Hey, what do we want our marriage to look like? Hey, what kind of friends do we want to be? Like, have meaningful conversations, like get a conversation starter kit. They make those. Well, we need to make one, but they make those where you can just pull a card out and ask each other deep conversations. Like, have conversations with your spouse that aren't just about what you did today, what you have to do tomorrow, and what it's going to take to get through the week.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, I think all throughout this episode, we talked about how we can make our marriage greater today. But along with that, if you go to greatermarriage.com, we have a resource on there called Communication Killers, and you will see these 7 communication killers with detailed descriptions of, instead of this, do this. Because there are a million scenarios that we could give for each of these communication killers, and we just don't have time to. But maybe one of those resonates with you a little bit more, and you want to know, okay, I am guilty of this, but how do I say what I want to say without sounding the way I'm sounding? And so we're going to have some very detailed examples on there of things that you can put into practice to start turning the conversations in a healthier direction than what they are right now. Because like we said, our hope is that tomorrow your marriage is a little bit greater than it was today. And next year, your marriage is a little bit greater than it was this year.
I want to say this is where Heather thrives. Like, you are so good at the practical application. I can joke about it and talk about it and like we'll bring the word and we have fun in these conversations. Please go download this resource. This will benefit your marriage, even if you and your spouse communicate incredibly well and you don't feel like there are any communication killers. You don't feel like, or maybe you feel like, I hear everything you're saying, but I feel like we've mastered those, like we're good. Still go and download this and just let it breathe life into your marriage. Like, in these situations, you get really focused. You really pray about these things. You really care about the practical application. I really appreciate what you've put together for our listeners. So I want you guys to go and download this today. greatermarriage.com. You can download that resource. Follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can email us, connect@greatermarriage.com. Correct?
You're in. You still don't know it.
Run that by my advisor real quick. Make sure that's right. Appreciate you, babe. Connect@greatermarriage.com. Obviously, she checks the emails. I just look over her shoulder. So appreciate you guys. Love you guys so much. Thank you again for a year of Greater Marriage. We love you, man. Go be great.
Killed it.
Crush that.